Yes, Assalamu alaikum, viewers. Welcome to the first episode of the SGN Week in Depth. I'm your host today, Salif Sonko. And today, in this Week in Depth, we'll be talking about the current affairs that happened over the week in the Gambia. From there, we also be talking about, we also have a guest that would also, be talking to us about the recent happenings in the Gambia. We all know the issue of the kidney issue and all that. So, kids dying and all that. So, welcome to the first episode of the SGN Week in Depth. So, welcome our Conte.
Thank you very much, Salif. Hello, viewers. My name is Awa Conte, and I am a journalist with SGN, and I write on sports and religious affairs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, our Conte, for that brilliant introduction. And then we have a journalist in the Gambia that will also join us on the current affairs. That's Ibrahim Ajara. Ibrahim Ajara, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Salih, for giving me the opportunity to be on the program. My name is Ibrahim Adjao. I work for King FM Radio, a news anchor and presenter. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. It has been an interesting week in the Gambia. To be honest, we have a lot of current affairs happening, things happening up and down. So, Ibrahim Ajara, we want you to give us a rundown of the week. Tell us what actually happened in the Gambia. To start with, we have seen that President Barrow finally has sent, the sacked UDP parliamentarians to their duties in their various embassies. Can you tell us a bit about that story?
Yeah, thank you once more, Salih. President Adam Barrow has used his powers to send some of the former UDP parliamentarians to their place of duties. That is former Latikunda MP Sheikh Omar, who was with the UDP in earlier 2017, 2018, then in 2019 he was sacked by the UDP for allegedly shifting his allegiance and loyalty to the president. Then countdown to the April Fools that happened on the that was April 10th, the parliamentary election. He lost the
Yeah,
UDP candidate. That is Yaya Menten Sanya, who
yeah,
succeeded in defeating him in the Latikunda Sabally constituency. Then
yeah,
after the elections, they were here for a while. Then the president appointed him as the chancellor at the Gambian embassy in Morocco, where he will be assigned to look after the welfare of the Gambians and other opportunities he will be able to serve around that end. And also we have Sekou Bajaju, who was also the NAM for Busumbala constituency. He was also
yeah,
with the UDP in 2017. Then 2019 thereabout, he was allegedly sacked by the UDP for shifting his allegiance to the president. Then
yeah,
on the April 10 Fools, that was the parliamentary election, he lost to independent candidate Mohamed Kante. Then
yeah.
immediately after the election, he too was around. Then later the president appointed him to Nouakchott in Mauritania, where he would serve as the first secretary in the Gambian embassy in Mauritania.
But
Also,
again,
we have
Ibrahim Ajara, yeah, yeah. Go ahead, go ahead.
Aladi Jawara, who was also with the
Yeah,
UDP in 2017. He won under the UDP ticket. Then
yeah,
he went to the party. He was with the UDP in 2017, 2018. Then in 2019, he was sacked by the
yeah,
UDP for the same reason. And
yeah,
he also lost to Kemo Gassama of UDP in the
yeah,
last parliamentary election. And then
yeah,
he was then later assigned to the role of first secretary at the Gambian
yeah.
consulate in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. And I think
Interesting.
three of them have all took their new roles and they are all in their various countries serving the interest of the country. Although there were some controversies here and there, that some of the people, I would say critics, I would say the position given to them is a demotion. Somebody who served as, in the second arm of the government, only
Yeah,
to be given a role of a first secretary in an embassy is a demotion. But I think three of them are content with the position given to them because three of them praised the president for
yeah,
the trust and the opportunity he has given them to serve
yeah,
their country once again in a different role. For Sekou Bajadu, in fact, he he took a shot of his new office and shared some of his images on social media, where he said he
Interesting.
forgives his critics, some of the people who were on his neck every now and then
Yeah.
criticizing his moves. He said he has forgiven all of those people and he's ready to open a new chapter. There, he showed how he was welcome. According to him, he was given a befitting welcome at the Gambian
Yeah.
embassy in Luanda,
In Musari.
Mauritania, where he will be serving as the first secretary.
Yeah, interesting, Jara. Interesting stories there. And again, I think NPP camp, everything is not seems not to be normal there. We also have, I mean, Bai Sankare arrested by the police, and then he accused Dusano. Can you tell us a bit about her story briefly?
Yes, Bayasankari, he belongs to the NPP party, that is President Adam Barrow's party, but also is somebody who is known for taking critical positions on issues, especially when it comes to the NPP leadership. He normally criticizes their moves. He was
Yeah,
arrested by the police last weekend, but the police denied arresting him or arresting him because earlier the police PRO told some news outlets that he was not arrested but was called for questioning. But according to
yeah,
Mr. Shankar, he was never called for questioning. He was arrested because the police special investigation unit head, Pa Ali Jawara, came for him at his compound in Farato. Then later took him to the police headquarters. So he said it isn't true that he was invited for questioning. If he was really invited for questioning, then the police would have just given him a phone call to go and answer to them at the headquarters. But rather, they came for him and escorted him to the police headquarters in Banjul. So he said after an intense investigation about the reasons that led to his arrest, he asked the unit head, that is Mustafa Ali Jawar, according to Mr. Shankar, he asked him, who assigned you people to arrest me? And the guy said, nobody. Is it the president? He said, no. Is it the police IGP? They maintained their ground that it was neither the president nor the IGP called for his arrest. But according to Mr. Sankare, after an intense investigation about the whole thing, he understands the
yeah.
presidential advisor on political affairs, Mr. Tusano, um, is the one behind his arrest. He said the police arrested him for no reason because according to him in 2017. Then which had to do with the leadership, the way the president was governing the country, and also some of the close aides to the president, the way they conduct themselves. So he said the
Yeah.
police found out that they couldn't do much about that audio. Then they decided to just publish claims that he was arrested. Instead of saying he was arrested, they now turned it to be a question and answer session between him and the police. But he insisted that wasn't the case. He accused Lusano to be behind his arrest. Well, the medium tried to reach out to Luciano on this issue, but I think he wasn't available for comments.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Interesting story there in NPP. So, can you please just do us a little summary of this in Mandinka later? We can be preparing that while we have our. So, our who is our sport reporter on SGN? Can you tell us you've reported that Manchester United first in the weekend by Arsenal, and then their coach they are reacting. So, tell us briefly about that story. Our content. We cannot hear you. You are muted. Yeah, yeah. Good.
Thank you
You're good.
very much, Saifu. So last weekend we saw that Manchester United was thrashed in a weekend derby against Man City, and that was actually their first defeat in 5 games, and in the hands of Man United. And then actually they were given 5 goals, sorry, 4 goals in just the first half, and then that forced some of the fans to leave the Etihad Stadium in just before the end of the first 45 minutes. So later on in the second half, the United actually responded with 3 goals, but then after Phil Foden and Ellen Haaland both finished their hat tricks, the game actually ended in the 6th day. So United manager Ten Hag blamed his team for their lack of bravery in the pitch, especially in the first half. So according to him, his team were not efficient in the first half, but then when they came back in the second half, they were stronger and then they were able to score 3 goals. But overall, he was not happy and he blamed them for the defeat.
Interesting there. I think this is one of the most controversial things out there because Manchester United with their name and all that. So from there, you also reported about Modu Sekambaro, a Gambian international player there in South Korea, making names for himself. Tell us briefly about that too.
Yeah, so Mudubaro as as a Gambian international is definitely evidently one of the country's best foreign based players. So he has been
Yeah,
with Gianberg Hyundai Motors since in 2021, and since then he's been doing very well. This season
yeah,
he's currently one of their top scorers by scoring 12
yeah,
goals in 25 matches. So he's been
yeah,
doing amazingly well. And in fact, he's the first ever Gambian to play in the English Premier League with
yeah.
Swansea City. That was from 2014 to 2019. He also played with Nottingham Forest and Leeds FC. That was on loan in
Mm.
2015. Also, he made his while he's still focusing on his international football, he still makes appearances for the Gambia, and he made his first national debut as a Scorpion in 2016. So Moribaro has been doing amazingly well, and he's recognized both nationally and internationally.
Thank you so much for that brief summary. So Ibrahim Ajara, back to you again. Can you just give us, I mean, a quick recap of what you've just said in English to Mandinka listeners out there? Please continue to like,
Well,
share this term.
kamen ko non drum wala mo mi yaran ko wala mi UDP mo non min 2017 kara 2019 min de ko seko ba jajo seko maram wala mo mi yaran ko UDP e fanandi ila parti kono le ko mo mi yaran ko ila lafo ani la kalunde ya di president barola nyato do mande kera mo mi yaran ko carte fayo men kera april karotil tambe mo digite carte fayo il faut la place wala le andu wonyama ñaato do mande président o sembota mi yalan ko wala babul ko do kulul dila wala seku ba jaju aywa ke first secretary le Gambia la embassy mi yalan ko wala be Nouakchott mi yalan ko wala Mauritania di andu wonyama seku maro o kere modi mi yalan ko aywa samba dami wala funati Gambia la consulate in Morok dami yalan ko abetar la wolto kuray mara Gambia la ko wala atanil tinkira ñedos alaji jawara o fana mo modi mi yalan ko aka monda ani UDP da mana 2017 2019 ma to UDP ya fana da handi la pati kono ya dani la kilimol kamma o nyama ata fana mo modi mi yalon ko ya ta first secretary Gambia la council mi ila council mi yalon ko wala be wala la consulate mi yalon ko wala be Saudi Arabia abe tarla dibero kala Gambia no la ko wala walto o nyama yeji nin kala nun ka ko ne komando bay sankare la ko bay sankare mo modi mi yalon ko afaraman sandra NPP le bara londa fana pour que l'autre la déterminer walta président wala kuoto anim fana NPP a comment on waslo kun tambila weekend o men tambila police ko ya ma arrest ya comment ni nyilin karo la police kunda bar bay sankare balanta wala ako police ya arrest la bayri na han normal fa fa wala suwakan bara ka ye nyilin kala ko président wala ko ya mutabang wala IGP bare tay ko hani o ma fo mi muta bare ya ko kabra de ko ya la kisi o ke ada sombi ko memba ko ma wala du sanote anda ko wala bara muto ni ko ma bare wonya ma kiba bunda jin ko ya kata la pour ka dia mu du sano membe de ko woni la bare ma so no pray ko ma wo fanna ni la
Interesting. So ako na wala po kita wala nyama. So ngata one of the most controversial thing making a Gambia the past week. Pale bakaw su fufana fana. Yeah, arrest le and then all of that. So can you tell us briefly in English and in Mandinka if you can?
well Imam Bakos Fofana is a prominent scholar in the country and also an imam. He's a native of Jara but resident in Santa Basule Joke. Imam Fofana last Sunday his disciplines in the local language we call them Talibol. According to them, they went to Imam Sedi's compound. Imam Sedi is somebody known to be a rival, or there is a big rivalry between Imam Bakos Fofana and Imam Musa Sedi of Tujera. So last Saturday, according to some of his close aides, the controversial Imam Fofana, dozens of people, I would say, from the Sufi society came to show solidarity to him on grounds that one of the Sunni scholars wrote a book about him, which they said the book, the way and manner the book was written against the scholar was inappropriate. So they came to his compound weekend, last Saturday, to show solidarity to him. Then on Sunday, one of them, Imam Fofana's discipline, who goes by the name Muhammad Kusi Fofana, and three other people or four other people went to Imam Musa Sedi's compound in Tujere. According to them, they went there to negotiate, reconcile with him, to tell him to stop insults that he allegedly heals against Imam Fofana or do against Imam Fofana and other things that he normally tells him with regards to his identity or the way he operates in the country. So according to them, one day, the reconciliation talk ended up being a violence. So they accused Imam Shady of keeping in hostage of Imam Fofana's discipline at his residence in Tujela, who were later rescued by the police. Then the police arrested the alleged attackers at their detained the alleged attackers, and they found them for two charges. That was trespass and conspiracy. Then later, on last Wednesday, Imam Fofana was called to answer to the police at the anti-crime unit in Banjul, where he went to upon arrival at Banjul to answer to the call. He was briefly detained. Normally, in the Gambia, police are normally accused of playing tactics when it comes to arresting people. They can call you, tell you, we needed you at the police station. We have few questions for you. When you reach there, they may change the format or the reason why you have been called. They may change that, and you will be detained, and later they will just send the invitation to an arrest. So briefly, that is
Yeah.
what happened. He was invited for questioning, according to what I was told. He was invited
Yeah.
for questioning, but later the questioning turned to be an arrest. Then he was detained there for 48 hours before he could be given a bail. And for Imam Fofana, he was charged on three counts. That is I cannot see the charges, but I believe one of them was assault on female. That is among the charges. Principal offender, and I think incitement of violence. Those were the three charges that were pressed
But
against him.
Jara,
But according to sources, he denied all those charges.
yeah, Jara. So we can see Imam Fufo is one of the most controversial Imam figures in the country. He's been saying a lot about the president lately. Do you think some of his arrests might be attributed to his comments about the president, or do you think it's just based on the comment? Because some of these charges that they are bringing forward, they are things that have been committed long time ago. But why bring it forward now? Do you think there is something fishy in it?
Well, yes. Going by his summon on Friday, one can tentatively say, yes, that could be among the reasons, or that one could suspect those reasons, because according to Imam Fofana, he said, political reasons, they're taking political ground against him. That is the president and his people. They're using politics, meaning they're trying to save people who are in support of them, people who are critical of them. They're trying to harm them. So I think that could be something that somebody or someone should need to look at very well. Maybe that could be among the reasons. But according to the police, this has nothing to do with that. Yeah, anytime the police arrest people, what they will tell you, we are only playing our role as officers, that is to maintain the peace and security of the country, especially internal security, protect lives and properties of the people. So, for the past Sunday was a very scary moment for some of the people
Yeah.
who are resident in Gambia and also non-Gambians as well, because knowing fully the threats attached to religious conflict, it could be a
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
dangerous move. I think if the police didn't step in to keep the situation and make sure that
Yeah.
let all Gambians live in peace, and also sort of to inculcate the idea or belief of Muslims and non-Muslims living together, to be tolerant as well. I think the whole thing has to do with being intolerant to each other, because there has been a huge rivalry between Imam Fofana and Imam Musa Siri in terms of preaching, in terms of the way they operate. Every time they
Yeah.
will be
Yeah. Yeah.
exchanging audios
But,
on
but it's
issues. So I think
it's Musa Sedi also charged. It's Musa Sedi also charged.
yes, for Sally too, according to his people, that is the SCAT group, they were not happy with the police. They accused the police of being biased and also frustrating Imam Sedi, because according to them, he
Yeah.
hadn't committed any crime. But he was charged with on two counts. That is conspiracy, I think. Sorry, incitement of violence. I cannot remember the other charges, but he was other charge rather. But he was charged on two counts, and he was also detained at the Sanyang police station. But according to his disciplines, Imam said his discipline, they were not happy. They said that the police weren't fair to them. Imam said he couldn't have been charged. He didn't have been even arrested
Interesting.
in the first place.
Interesting. Interesting. I've
Yeah,
seen.
but
I've seen. It
the
was
police
all over the
arrested
social
both of
media.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah, they arrested both of them, and he was at the Sanyang police station, while Imam Fofana was at the Banjul
Banjul.
anti-crime unit, and both of them were granted bail on last Friday. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think they are still going to the police to report daily.
Thank you so much, Jara, for that brief thing. Is really interesting. So back to our again. Jara, you can be working on your translations. And then our, can you tell us, we've seen Abu Bakar Steve Tarawale, the first ever Gambian player, like playing and also having to purchase a football club, called the Diba Oil. Tell us about that development.
Yeah, so on Thursday, October 6th, the GFF announced of the transfer and sale of Diba Oil Fans Club to Babukar Steve Trawale. So who is a Gambian international footballer. So the football club actually was found in 2017, and they were the champions of the Lower River Region Third Division League in 2020-2021 season, which booked them a place to the first division. So if you look at the football club, they're eventually rising to the top. I can even say that they are a team to be looked out for in subsequent years to come in Gambian football. So I think Steve made a very good start of his managerial career in football by just purchasing that team, and according to him as well. So right now he's actually missing out on the season in with his team in Sweden, which is Hammarby Football Club. So right now he's not playing, and because of the injury on his knee, and then he's going to do some surgery on that. So, but I think he's doing pretty well. He made a pretty brave step out there to just start his managerial career in football. And then he also spoke. He said the club will actually take a new dimension under his new leadership. So he's actually looking forward to taking the club into to greater heights, inshallah.
Interesting there. Thank you so much, Awa, for that interesting development in Gambia's football. So, Jara, can you please do that summary in Mandinka for us? Let's.
Yeah, nka men fo nun comment ro olem imam ba ko so fo na ali araba tambila police woli ya motale no ona tan ne kabri dimension kala talibol wala karam wati bi yala ko wala ko jelta da imam musa sedi ya reconciliation chat la wala ka ta da wala ye wotu mi kay o yele man di bulu sonko de bar imam so sedi fana abalanta wala le ako hani amanke wajamba monatil na kabri wal binata ya kachala wala badi ya kacala ini jora wala kanadi bayda tay watu mi ko wonni fongol le na raji wonyama tanel dungo kata tala do kan kabiri wato mi yalen ko yewol mo da police wol na rawal kamba je be lula baro kono tenen o tala to kata ko arabo kan dro nara imam ba ko su fofana muta ya ko nyame wala ko ya kuman de kayan sulate la pour mi nyinin ka woni nin ka ro jabi do ko anata yele makta muto de dam yalan ko bon so la wate tan na ni sey tilifula wuto ay wala ke police wol bulu banjul station to anti crime unit je bari wanyama imam sedi fana mata fana kere modi ngal ko police ya fana muta ya ta fana samba dange ko wala sanyam police station o to mi refula ya walden ada tawada imam so fana tino to mi saba to mi refolo foro ye tel be to mi sita tile wala wala ka kuma ko mi yalam ko akamul da mun len birol te musu yala karola iko ye tumi wala to mi fulan jamo mi yalam ko ya mo fulo be ya kamul da ni wala ka fitino wulinde imam fofana la karola tumire sabanja mo men wala momi yalan ko isobita ko itele luwati nya bare ko nyul be mo tumiro le de yalan ko abalanta wo tumiro nyina yenyen kala non komando ko imam fofana la muta ko nyu ko kori politiko man tala ko ma nga ko ile non ko askelo iko astarano jira katambile jumalu mala ni juma tambila imam bakos fofana e kutubo mi yalan ko ay wala bare ni yaji be akumata la ko mansa men be mansa fi mansa ka wala fasa men man tare fe nya kasu wala so mo si
Yeah.
sobi no ko askino ala afana na sobo be walta ko politiko da be ko ni kono le bare ko mi nga ko non ne ko akamun ni na la nyo sa ala karola ani nyo sabo amo pede dum yalla nga warata bake imam baka su fofana ni imam musa sidi tema andu jama kam men ko wala akamun da panna fulo be imam sabari nyoye to wala kam men ko wali intolerant na imam ko la fika kutu nyoye membe o nyo sabo na fi ken andu kabiri ni ko kera ay mo jamal silande bake bayri ko dina fitilo mo fenni mi yalon ko aka duba ke jana do futala wotun ko do police wala lo data ko ni do bari imam fofana la audio do ako tana manke kuwol be aga kamunta ni ko ni abe bantala sai so ataya ko non ala audio to kabri wato mi yala ko yamul.
Okay. Okay, jara baraka bake. Bari na wiko kabri wiko betambe kan nyato na raje ko kom difference of because na raki baro je mi yalo ko si en na ko adi World Health Organization dindi jamal le fata bi yalo ko e buro be bingola sabu wala sunti la sabu so se demandi fo nyino wota mandi ka wata ko la sina fo mole agle ko bita.
Yes, WHO, atemu ka folti mi yalan ko dunia la ka fubale member ta jaati kan yala ko wala banko ni ara watan mila walle kan ko aro ko min na ta mbiyen tin jamal ti ay dikala kendi anda ye sunu pate wala ye mem ko wala ko dildil taworo ani woro wala fara banko ni ga mole fa ko wala acute kidney injury ni o moy wala dilli wal ni ko kilo wala kan lan juro soro wala sababu ta dilli wal bin nasaya bari dele mem ko wala ko ya tara ko boro ni mi yalan ko dilli wal yi muna fa wala o mu bori kati balode wala ka men commandi cough syrup la ga toto boro mi yalan ko dilli wal yi wala mi ko e fengo dol tara wo boro ni kono wala mo felle mi yalan ko imam bete ya hada madi moto wala dilli moto wala hada madi mo fondo wala ka felle mi yalan ko ya tara ko boro man kati ali ko boro ni ida data dame wala India banko kandi ay la compagnie do bi mi yalan ko wala ko madi meden pharmaceutical limited la wala e boro ni yawade da ando boro ni wala na mantoro la ni dildil taworo ani woro ka yin na na sabu kabiri ni kibaro fil da gambian jamal tuji yela kontan balyani jikala tayo jitandi bake ko Dr. Ahmad Lamin Samate wala ministre men ka jibero ke e jati kende ala karode e kaye daha ala fala sodo andi wo nyama fay dole president baro ko man fam e kaye fonyo e kaye bay ala makamoto o nyama la dro ka kariyandi president Adama Baro arjungalo wala aramisa lo wala ro akani experts wol bentale ni yo mo wala mol menel don dillu kare o so jati kende ala karola akani wala benta kabirin akani wol benta ako timalo ndefana be diamo la banko dimo dela president Adama Baro banko di jamal fije benu yillare kabe diamo la bar jalli wo to ka samade na diamo reji bon do e banko ke kamen ko mali ka West Coast Radio la programme de kamen ko mali papi time la kabra be diamo kanje ti wa kala men mo fita commerce anara fay ye kumandile ye to kumandi ko ye da hayla makamo donc samade na rafa ko banko di mol men ko nga fa amle la kumandiro ni mi yalan ko be wala kika bare akoye ko ntel na kata ko kele wala ntel dokta samate anil te magambia la masakunda e mum molti mi yalan ko la kata ko warata ba ya lunga na kata ko ndingol kele tabe ni ko ni commencé ta banko ni da so kabere ko ni abora wara drum kamunta dokta president barona la kildi aljumalu talansi pour ka diamo banko di wala sahani da ko wala banko di jamal biji ina rela tikra te yogi tandi president adama barola ko mo la mi yalan ko ay wala sa ko fanna la da mi yalan ko ako dilli wal mi yalan ko wala ka fa sa ya da dilli wal mele ka fa ila dilli wato la wal mo mo mi yalan ko fa dilli wal mele ka fa ila dilli wato la sangol men tambi da ani nyinta iman siya nyoti bake wala kamunda aman siya nyindan ti bake kabra ko mo jamal biji na tan da ni ko yan tikra te yogi tandi ko president o banyo ko mo fala bay ni mo kula de mi yalan ko aman nyang andi kay speech mi yalan wala kuma kalimol mi yalan kay wala ko amman banko dingol wasa aman diye ni nyamalem kamunda banko kan banko dingol fildi ka kela kontan bal yaji tan ningo ko wala tara jaman da ban bunda ka safero ke man sakunda la poro wona tan sababu president barona la man sakunda ina re lod la fali ko say molme yalan ko wala ye wala lansino ta pra ni boro samban je lansino ni yo suspend wala yo artila folo ando police fanan na ba ko bayri ya de telde ala ko wala itil ba ko ni kiskis la bara fanan bake ni mo kula dem yalan ko be keri dimas lu mo bularo ko mi yalan nyami hani bi gambe di wol telde daga docteur sama de tongo dete ka fay ko yi da hala place do afana na la press conference ko mali ki ba dalal men ta de ko ya fay ka fay ko de ko nyanta da hala place la docteur sama de na ra ko de ako endemo docteur de mi yalan londi lokari ngo wala sodo dañuy opérer wala karola to wata men ko mali sojon la ako ende wodo ko nga faham andu nga no bake bare ke da ha santem promo bare da ha nyimu fenet mi yalan ko asoni ata bake anata na fam ba mandi bake ko modol ton bi jol ka fay dun to me fa sa bare nyin karola e simpa nyami yalan ko e wolda ke puta bake wala betiara o nyama len docteur samade na ko te ako president ko mo me ko arjuma lo ay du no nyin ayata wala banko dingol man kon dan president ko mo men ade responsibility do bi mi yalan ko ay wolda wo karol la ko wolbe wala nyama ala say banko dingol man sabale jamal bi diyan tay ba fokane docteur samade nyanda ke ko nyala place woto president adama baro mo mo dum yalan ko anyanda ka banko dingol coming ke niyo la kumaya anyanda ka londe ka je ko ay ke moti mi yalan ko accountability mem mo konti boro ay wona fi la ñu karola momo mi yalan ko wala da buro ñin tilimbal ya ni jenko kono ay ke moti mi yalan ko ay luwa tamandi o mari ñu kan mal jani wo jamal be mem boko wala docteur samade na tra nun ko momati am moti mi to wala kamen ko wadi integrity and consent pour akara moti mi yalan ko ay to daji ko soto anin toni am moti mi yalan ko tuba ko mandi kana fry da ala place do bari samata la diamu ñaato anin kamandi ñaato akamonta amam pari ke da hala place o ñindo akate ala do ko no bake andu wanyama fa kamonta time ke wadi wado mi yalan ko ba fala kari ko no bayre ni ajibi ko no mo feder mi yalan ko so ne ada ba ko bare akamonta amam pari ka
baraka baka Ibrahima Jara okumo senata buka chalo oku wala nyaro molni public health expert Sheikh Omar Sillah. So our content, can you please give us also an update on sports? We've also reported about Premier League taking whenever they are about to commence their games. What is the motive behind that action, that decision by the Premier League?
So the Premier League has announced that all clubs in the league will actually take a moment to take the knee in all the 20 matches that are supposed to be played between the 8th and the 18th and the 16th October this season. But the reason for this taking the knee is actually for them to show as a way of joining the fight against racism. So knee taking had been a Premier League norm since June 2020 and has been observed. It used to be observed before every kickoff as a show of solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement, rather. But then this season, before the beginning of the season, the team captains have now decided to select just specific moments, just to just do this display. Also, the Premier League has said that it will have zero tolerance of any acts of discrimination over the course of the next 2 weeks that they will be having this knee taking in every match. So also they have also identified other occasions that they will be doing the display that is taking the knee, and those include the Boxing Day, the final day of the season, and also on the finals of the FA Cup and Carrier Cup. So overall, the knee taking was brought up as a result of them showing their solidarity with this Black Lives movement, Black Lives Matter movement. But then, as I told you, it used to be done in every kickoff. Like players used to take a moment to take a knee in every kickoff. But then this season, the captains have decided that that is too much, and that they're going to just select specific occasions that they're going to do this knee taking.
Thank you so much. Our content that was brief and insightful. So, Ibrahim Ajara, just give us a summary again on the issue of this Dr. Samada, because I think back also news actually, I mean, just talking the whole social media, we were all talking about back also. All of a sudden, I don't know what Moriba has done, but all of a sudden the whole narrative has changed. We're not talking about Dr. Samada to resign. We have seen calls, Madin Jabate. We have a lot of prominent Gambians online saying that Dr. Samada should resign. So Ibrahim Ajara, give us a brief
Yeah.
report on that.
Yes, last Wednesday, the WHO Director General made an announcement at Geneva where he said 66 children lost their life as a result of contaminated cough syrup that was
Yeah.
imported in the country and it was manufactured by an Indian company called Maiden Pharmaceutical Limited. So when this announcement was made, uh, I would say thousands of Gambians rose to their social media page, specifically on Facebook, to express dismay and dissatisfaction about the way and manner the Minister of Health is running the affairs of the Ministry of Health. In the Gambia, you have the Medicine Control Agency. It is the body that is responsible for licensing and giving license to importers and also when it comes to the control mechanisms put in place to control medicines in the country. So since the announcement was made by the WHO director, many were blaming the Ministry of Health, saying in fact they were not transparent in the whole process. But later, what happened was Dr. Samate went to one of the local radio, that is West Coast Radio. He told the presenter, Peter Gomez, that in fact it was not the WHO that detected the causes of of the acute kidney injuries. Rather, it was his Ministry of Health when they gave the information to the country rep or the country director of WHO, who later forwarded those information to her boss or his boss, the general director of World Health Organization. Then he
Yeah.
made the revolution. But with regards to his vaccination, many
Yeah.
Gambians have been calling for the sacking or for the vaccination of Dr. Samade. Specifically, it's Mr. Mamadou Sabally, who earlier in 2020 said Dr. Samade is incompetent enough and he lacked the leadership charisma to lead that
Yeah.
ministry in such a critical moment.
Yeah.
Then there was huge debate about it, but later in 2021, well before the election, Dr. Samare took on a political podium to ridicule and blast the Women Life Matter, saying politicians are behind them and the issue that they always raise that women are dying in labor isn't something true. In fact, it had been drastically going down. Then Gambians started having skepticisms about his um, his leadership style and the way he's taking actions in that ministry or the way he is governing that ministry. Then
Yeah.
when the acute kidney injury issue emerges, first thing the Ministry of Health did was in a leaked memo shown on social media from Dr. Mustafa Bite, they asked all the health centers or health hospitals in the country to stop administering paracetamol syrup for patients. Instead, they use an alternative medication. Then later, investigations were intensified because, according to the president and the minister of health himself, they brought it to the attention of the WHO. So the WHO, they said they have a responsibility to help countries when they are faced with emergencies. So then the WHO also took part in the investigation. Then until last Wednesday, they came out with this shocking pronouncement that 66
But
Gambians
Jara,
literally
just
lost
to
their
cut you
lives.
here,
Hmm?
just to intervene a bit. We have seen the minister in his press conference saying that the WHO actually preempted their work, that they were the ones that were supposed to make that announcement that these 66 people died of this cough syrup. But again, other people argued on their social media platforms that if it was the responsibility of the ministry to give that, they might not actually be honest to the Gambians. They might try to play it down, just like the way the WHO
Well,
didn't play it down. What do you
to
think
be
about it?
quite honest, with you, I think most of the Gambians, when I said Gambians, I mean genuine Gambians, they lost trust and confident in Dr. Samata's leadership. They are no more happy with the way he is running that ministry. Dr. Samata, during the COVID containment period, he had he has failed in so many in numerous occasions when it comes to containment of the virus. There had been so many occasions when we will have a break in containment due to lack of payment of allowances and other things. So since then, Gambians are not really happy with the way he is um, he is taking charge of that ministry or the way he is carrying out his day-to-day administrative work in that ministry. Then when this issue came up, I think the only thing that he's trying to say that WHO must have preempted their work. But according to Dr. Samade himself, in last evening, that was Thursday evening, they concluded their
Yeah.
investigations, and it was now it was concluded that not the cough syrup might be the cause. They can assertively say cough syrup is behind the cause of these acute kidney injury. So many Gambians, due to the lack of trust they have in the Gambia government, specifically on Dr. Samad, especially his failure to resign at this critical moment, they are not the least impressed, or they won't trust him to be talking about critical issues, especially when it comes to the numbering or giving numbers of the victims who lost their life in the process. Perhaps a lot of people are even speculating that the 69 people, the number of children who lost their life is far more than
Yeah.
69. So then,
Exactly. Exactly.
the only
Yeah.
thing that made that convinced some of the people who are keenly following the issue is because it came from the WHO, known to be a credible organization. Then that's the only thing that gave them the comfort to trust the numbering. But hadn't been it came from the Gambia government, many would say it is not that's not the real case because as of August they said it was 87% fatalities. Then they never
Yeah.
update the masses about the sequence of about the way the sequence of events that were happening. That was from
Yeah.
August and September. They didn't tell they weren't in position to tell Gambians exactly what was happening. How many people have lost their life in September? Only for WHO to come out last Wednesday to tell the Gambians that 66 children had lost their life. Has lost their life due to the contaminated syrup that they consume. So
Interesting.
it's rather
Interesting.
unfortunate that
Yeah.
Gambians
Definitely.
have no trust in them. I would say most of the Gambians they didn't trust the minister anymore. But yet the minister is insisting that he want to click on the job, that he want to stay, and he will continue
Exactly.
to take charge of
I
that
think
ministry.
personally, my opinion would be I don't think the president even have to sack the minister. Normally, if you have integrity, you're working, and then it's not actually working out for you anymore. The smartest move you could take at that point is just to resign and excuse yourself from that job. The president should not even sack the minister. It's like the minister should have integrity in himself that this is not working for me anymore. There are a lot of cases that happened since he actually headed that ministry.
Well,
You have the
the,
COVID
the,
cases
the
here,
argument
corruption. Yeah,
the argument put forward by the minister is
yeah,
he's a competent surgeon, and immediately he left his job, he will go back to his profession. But many are
but
telling
but
him that what, being a competent surgeon doesn't mean you will be a competent administrator. The problem here is that we are
exactly.
never doubt your capability when it comes to surgery and related related issues. What we're saying here is that you lack the leadership charisma to steer the affairs of the Ministry of Health at this critical moment of juncture. So that has been the argument people are putting forward continuously about the whole the controversy surrounding the whole saga. Then Dr. Samate,
Okay,
he might be a good surgeon, but he's not a good administrator. And a number
definitely.
of these, yeah, such a number who lost their life due to, as said by Reuters, due to rash, meaning negligence. Dr. Samate should resign from his position. But I think the minister still want to continue being a minister in the country, but fully loyal to
Certainly,
the Gambia.
certainly,
Being a
yeah,
minister, it comes with a lot of privileges. So normally nobody want to quit that job. Once
yeah,
it landed in your hand, you find it very difficult to say, you know what, I'm returning this job because it comes with a lot of privilege. And especially for Dr. Samadi, he's receiving a lot of allowances as the minister of health in the country. So I don't
yeah.
think he will easily give up on that job. Maybe the president, it will only happen maybe if the president took his
Sack
position
him.
or took a stand against him and sack him from the position. But
Exactly.
until then, I'm seeing him as the minister of health. He's not going to resign.
Okay, thank you so much, Ibrahim Ajara, our content. You guys can just wrap up now. Is actually you have presented the time. It was a very, very interesting news review. Do join us every Sunday. We'll be having this kind of analysis for you to bring you latest update of the Gambia and our surrounding. So Ibrahim Ajara, and our content starting from you. You can just give your concluding remarks, and we have SD Silla.
All right.
Thank you very much. It was thank you. It was great discussing the news that has happened over our last week, and we hope to see you again next week for more reviews, inshallah.
Yeah, thank you so much, our content. Now we have Ibrahim Ajara. Jara. Jara, your microphone. Okay.
Are you hearing me now?
Yeah, I'm hearing you now. Yeah, you can. It's cool.
Yeah, I was saying I will do my concluding remark in Mandinka. Allah baraka
Yeah.
baki adol ninka SDN TV. Fodi ma nala inshallah nana nga program o di Allah ko de ko wol ya lan ko wolle be kene ban ko jinga. Abaraka baki sali ko yen na fi na program o.
All right. Thank you so much, Ibrahima. So we have a short break. Then we have SG immediately after this break. Thank you so much, listeners. Please, if you're actually just joining us right now, it's SGN Week in Depth. We're here talking about current affairs in the country. And today, our guest is Sheikh Omar Sillah, a lecturer at the public health school in the Gambia College. So, Ibrahim, SG Sillah, you're welcome to this program. SG, are you hearing me? I think SD is having some connection issues there, but he'll be reconnecting. Thank you so much, Sheikh Omar Sillah, for actually honoring our invitation to be part of this program. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you very much, Salif. It's really an
Yeah,
opportunity to interact with you here.
yeah. So, can you briefly tell us about your work, SG Sillah?
Yeah, so thank you. I'm fondly called SG Silla. My name is Sheikh Omar Sillah. I am a public health academic. What I do is actually invest interest in public health research. I have
Yeah,
also vested interest in clinical research.
yeah,
By training, I am an epidemiologist by training. That's what I've got my master's degree on. I have practiced as a public health officer with the Ministry of Health of the Gambia. This is for
yeah,
nearly 3 years before I moved to the School of Public Health at the Gambia College to serve as a lecturer. And I've
yeah.
also been involved in quite a lot of other CSOs in the country. I've established my own health foundation called the SO Health Foundation of Gambia.
Interesting. So, with regards to your health foundation and your work, how do you balance that, and how is it going? Like, what do you do basically as far as work is concerned at your foundation?
Yes, so practically what I do with the SO Health Foundation is we have volunteers, health volunteers. These are people who have a public health background. These are people who have interest in volunteering, and we connect together to ensure that we go to the communities where we think they've lack, access to healthcare. We offer them the basic support. Fundamentally, this support had been um, through the IVLP, Alumni Association of the US Embassy, Banjul. They've been primarily the sponsors to most of the projects that we have had in rural Gambia, and because these are areas that are predominantly affected when it comes to the health coverage. So these
Yeah.
are practically, public people with public health background who come together to ensure that we also strive hard to close the gap in our healthcare system.
Yeah, so I actually do understand you once work as an executive member in the Public Health Student Union or something like that. So, or the Union of the Public Health Officers. So, what was that like for you?
So I'm a member. I'm a member, an honorary member, not actually an executive member,
Okay,
because
okay,
of my interactions with the public. That's why I am termed to be among the executive. But actually, I'm a member of the Association of Public and Environmental Health Officers of the Gambia. This is called GAFO.
yeah,
The interest is bringing public health officers together
yeah,
to help support public health activities of the country and to help
yeah,
guide policy, to help guide issues of public health research, to help guide any public health related activity that is enjoyed in the country.
yeah. Interesting, SG. So, can you also take us through, because we've seen over the past few days there have been a lot of public health issues going on. We've seen, because all of this is are public health issues. They are matters of concern as far as public health is concerned. So we have seen this acute kidney issue actually trending all over the internet. And in fact, it's actually not only Gambia. It's basically we see WHO having to intervene. But before even then, we also see a lot of public health officers on demonstrations and all that. Before we get to the kidney issue, can you tell us briefly about the demonstration of the union that you belong to and how did that went?
Oh yeah, so that was an interesting one. This was the Association of Public Environmental Health Officers, GAFO,
Yeah.
went on a demonstration. Then went on a Sudan strike. What called on the Sudan strike is the fact that the members felt there is unfair treatment when it comes to the allowances. These are commitments laid forward by the government of the Gambia to say that they will pay these allowances in a due time, and the time came.
Yeah.
The members of the association flagged that, you said that you're going to pay these allowances at this time. And these are genuine allowances that are asked for, because these allowances are paid to the other sister cadres. And then we felt that it was important for them also to be treated fairly. And that's why they had to, activate an industrial action. So they did that. It became a tug of war. It became a WWE between the Ministry of Health and the Association of Public and Environmental Health Officers. It was a tough one. However, they went on to resolve this issue. The allowances were not paid eventually. The public health officers, 371, were dismissed. Were suspended on the verge of dismissal, in fact. So they were suspended out of service, and it brought in a lot of issues, a lot of talk around. Why would you? Why would any serious nation suspend its field forces, its health field forces that are public health officers for a period of 3 months? Eventually what the ministry was saying at the time is that they do not need the services of public health officers in the country for a period of 3 months. And I can say that, this was a time when we had a lot of issues in this country. This was a time when we were having the good exit strategy for the COVID-19. This was a time when public health officers are technically in the field, doing some services of surveillance, contact tracing, ensuring that the borders are protected. A lot of issues, immunization coverage. Gambia celebrates immunization coverage. This is to say thanks to the work of public health primarily. So this was a time that the government said they were interested in the services of public health.
Interesting.
171 public health officers were suspended.
Interesting, SG. So like, what do you think these numbers might actually have an impact currently on our public health sector? So for 3 months, meaning there will be no immunization campaign for 3 months. There will nothing like that. The activities will be limited. So what impact do you think this had on the public health issue of the Gambia?
I think that it has some serious impacts. You cannot, no serious nation in this day and age would suspend its public health workforce. That is only if you do not understand or you do not appreciate the effort of public health in the country. This was a time when, like I said, we are faced with a lot of issues, including the famous COVID-19. This was a time when travelers were coming in and out of the country without screening. This was a time when thousands of our kids were actually missing out on their essential routine vaccinations. You know that public health officers champion the EPI services of this country. So thousands of children must have lost their shots. The essential vaccines, the vaccine preventable diseases. This was a time when, it's just like going to a war and actually asking your soldiers to put down their weapons and not to fight. That is the ramifications that these things will have when it comes to public health. No serious country for a day and age will suspend its public health workforce for even 12 hours.
Exactly. I think one of these are all of the issues that accumulated, that there were a lot of calls on the internet that the minister should definitely resign, because you have to negotiate at that point. All you had was your soldiers are saying we are not going to fight, and you have the enemy at your doorstep. So what you do, you have to go and negotiate with your soldiers to pick back their weapons and go and fight. But you don't suspend them. You don't take them outside the box. So like, what is the call of the union? Like, do the union take out any statement to say that the minister should resign, or what? What was the actual?
So at the time, the association interacted with the officials of the Ministry of Health I remember that a lot of consultations were done at the level of State House. I mean, the association were invited, the leadership were invited to State House. I was privy to some of the meetings actually at the State House. A lot of meetings also happened between the association and the minister at the Ministry of Health in Quadrangle. I was also
Yeah.
privileged to some of the meetings that happened at Quadrangle. But this was a time when they were, I mean, people were really pulling the strings. No cooperation between the Ministry of Health and the public health officers. I mean, it was evident it was more of issuing of threats, to say, I mean, for example, to say that, those that are members of the association and are not currently civil servants cannot attend some of these, the executive functions when they're executive officers. So it brought in a lot of issues. I mean, the membership, actually, the leadership of of the association took, radical steps by action to radical steps, by ensuring that, they protect the interests of every public health officer who was calling for, a civilized pay in their wages. I mean, these were pays that, like I said, which
Yeah.
are paid to other sister cadres, and they think it's genuine enough for them to ask to be paid for these allowances. So the association was very strong. The leadership was very strong. They took their steps. They had counted steps, of course. It was tough at the time, I know. Intimidations were coming left, right, and center. But they were very, very firm on what they want until at the last minute when members were actually dismissed and salaries were not paid to some members for 3 months.
Interesting there. So now we move on to something different a bit, but it's still public health because we've seen the announcement by WHO that about 66 Gambian children are actually affected with the acute kidney injury due to a contamination of drugs. So, what as a public health officer, as somebody who is concerned about the public health of the Gambia, what was your first reaction when you had this pronouncement at the CNN?
I mean, this was terrible. It was terrible. Just to say, I mean, I was so scared that, I mean, this is coming, at this time. But I wasn't actually very much surprised that something like this will happen shortly. I mean, reports have been there, and that, I mean, concerns have also been there, and that, I mean, the Ministry of Health, Gambia, actually do not have quality control checks when it comes to or medical, drugs that are being imported into this country. So I was really scared because I know we do not have the capacity to check actually if these drugs coming into this country are fit for purpose. We do not have that capacity. Yeah. I mean, it's evident, and I was also scared at the time how we would activate the public warning systems, because when some of these alerts are issued by WHO, what state parties as in countries do, is to activate a public warning system, and we do not have a good public warning system in this country. The Ministry of Health, although the Health Promotion and Education Directorate, the fantastic unit, of course, I love their energy, but I was so scared how would this message trigger out, and I was also scared. I mean, this is coming at a time when politicians are also playing their political tricks, and I was scared if the numbers that are actually reported are the true numbers, if the numbers are not actually seduced numbers, I mean, if the numbers are not accurate, because it is about protecting the interests of the state. When things like this happen, in international regulations 2005 will tell you that state parties will vest a lot of interest in protecting their identity, and as a country, I was so scared that maybe probably the numbers that are actually coming out are not true. And I can indicate that, I mean, if you look at the president's statement, when you watch the president issue his press release, and that is his public address, you will tend to realize that, I mean, for us that are statistically minded, you tend to realize that he did not mention the case fatality in the analysis. That tells us how many people are currently active, or how many people are diagnosed of this disease, and how many died as a result of the diagnostic score. So the president didn't give a good diagnostic score into this, and that keeps some of us still wondering what is the magnitude of this case, because here and then, just 24 hours after the release of the president's statement, we're hearing 3 more deaths. So we need to get the numerator and the denominator to actually understand the magnitude of this trend, and that is what they are hiding from us.
Definitely. Actually, you've mentioned about something like quality control, but I think this is something that is very, very avoidable, because, like, even if not pharmaceutical, even if it's not about health, like whatever you're doing as a country or as a business, like you need to know the history of those people. What are the kind of things that they deal in? What are the kind of countries they're dealing with? But you cannot go to a major pharmaceutical company that you know that their office is even better than their office is just as worse as going to any football club office or whatever. You
I
just go
agree.
and buy drugs from those kind of people. You have no history about what they do. And what if it worried me was like the director of responsible for this medicine and control agency was asked whether people rent license as Wasson Gambia reported on their page. But she was saying like there's not like renting license. It's like you have an investor and somebody with the expertise they partner. So what do you think about the whole? Are we actually safe? Are we safe? Our children safe in the Gambia? This is what everybody have to be working.
I mean, that's an important question, and just to give a clear and an honest answer to that is that our kids are not safe. Nobody is practically safe in this country as far as our healthcare system is concerned. This is not to cause a lot of injury to our healthcare system, but what I'm saying is there are a lot of things that are actually missing that we need to connect for our healthcare. I mean, when this happened, practically you can now see why most people are not do not have the trust to even have their kids go to some of these public facilities in this country. So the question of how the Medicine Control Agency, I mean, this is a committee, this is a board that is primarily responsible to ensure that drugs imported into this country are of standard, are of quality. I mean, they are supported by the Medicines Control. There's an act in 2014 actually that's giving them this power. I mean, Section 5, Chapter 9 of this act, is about standards. So I see no reason why the Medicine Control Agency wouldn't have really detected this. Well, I know that they do not have the capacity for quality checks. I mean, so there are no quality controls in place. But eventually, when things like that happen, what you seek to do is to look out for capacity. I mean, there are capacities in the sub-region, in Ghana, in Senegal. You could look out for capacity and work towards building on, an association among yourselves. I mean, Medicine Control Agencies that could actually help, put some quality control. Africa is very much vulnerable when it comes to the medical market. This is not only Gambia. And it's about time that African medicine control agencies come together to actually institutionalize the Africa Medicines Agency.
Well, Africa is vulnerable, but I think we are the victims here. We are the first victim of this. I think overall you can have Gambia actually have been under capacity, like the entire rule of Jammeh. We don't have all of these capacities to check medicines, but we've never had a case whereby we import from a country or a company that is not even actually recommended for business. You don't do business with people that are not recommended for business. You make business. You go to people that are credible, people that you think actually have this capacity to give you drugs that are safe. That wherever good people are buying from, you don't have the capacity. You have to be wise when you're choosing and when you're to buy. Like you cannot just go to any company because it's cheap. You buy from there and come and sell to our people. But these things are very, very, very controversial, and so overall, SG. So what do you think aside of, because I think aside of what else are you expecting from the government? Because I'm not actually expecting a lot. Are you also optimistic we can see something different within the week coming?
Well, I think the games of being just very nice with actions is what is actually happening. With the issues of the Ministry of Health, seeing the president taking radical actions to ask investigations into this matter. I mean, these are things that could have happened in June when these issues were discussed, when these issues were discovered at the EFSTH. Medical doctors actually came forward to flag that something is wrong. I mean, this was at the time. This was in June. I'm telling you, June of this year. But this came out from clinical observations. So any serious country will have had taking these steps that they're taking today in June and not actually sit up to now. I mean, citizens have queried some of these issues, and the government were still silent until now that things are really getting out of hand and they're taking the steps. I practically think the government failed in its time to intercept what we've reached today. I mean, if they had taken radical steps in June when these things were coming out and do ensure that quickly they run analysis to countries that have the capacity to support them to check for these medicines, to talk to WHO to help them with capacity and verify that these medicines were substandard. June, I know that investigations happen. These kids are taking medicine. That's one question, but the other question that remains unanswered is what diagnosis? Because these kids were sick and went to the facility to get them drugs. Why did they went out to the facility to get these drugs? What made them sick is one of the fundamental questions that still need to be answered. We have getting close to 100 people that are now actually, going to die of this disease, of this event. We need to understand the trend of the cases that they're reporting for diagnosis at the facilities. That is very much important for us at this moment. And I'll advise that, I know that the government has also, in the Ministry of Health particularly, have activated the recall system. I know that they're doing both statutory recall and the mock recall. But I know there are also a lot of challenges when you come in entirely promethazine is bad entirely. What that can cause is that there are a lot of risks attached to this event. One of the risks attached to this event is the fact that we can run out of medical shortage. And if that happens, because for example, now paracetamol is going out of stock, promethazine is going out of stock. People don't care about whether this brand is coming from India or is from UK or is from US. As far as
it's syrup, nobody's using it anymore.
They're actually scrapping it out, or anywhere they're scrapping it out. So that could eventually lead to shortage in our medical supply, and that is not very good for the consumer population for health. I think the other risk that could be associated with this is that we need to be very pragmatic in ensuring that countries don't use the opportunity of knowing our weaknesses and further infiltrate to bring in these drugs. I heard, the minister saying in one of the local interviews to say that the borders are porous. Probably people are coming through the border. Those are too radical for him to say. You cannot just suggest that people are bringing these medicines, at the porous borders. So we need to institute, a lot of technical arrangements. We need to institute a lot of, QCs, quality checks, to ensure that this population is definitely safe.
Quality checks, actually, I think, is the answer to everything. We have to be, the thing is, like you said, this thing happened since in June. They could have taken actions. They could have started all of this from June to make sure like the problem doesn't reach here, but they actually ignored it, downplayed it as if nothing happens. So whatever you said, whenever you try and actually even come up with solutions, they actually apportion you to a group that you belong to. Group. I think that culture also played, it's one of the problems that actually lead us here. Because we've been talking about this ever since. We've been talking about the administrative work in the Ministry of Health, but nobody seems to pay attention. So long as from an individual, you are labeled that way that we don't want anything good for this. But eventually, we are all Gambians, and we don't want our country to fail. I think that is one thing also the ministry have to look into properly. So overall, SG, I think we have actually we wrap this up here. Until next Sunday. Thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate talking to you. So what is your final message to Gambians and anybody that is a mother or anybody that is concerned about this health issue?
So just to say that to fellow Gambians, I think it's about time that we are pragmatic. We activate community vigilantism. This is important for us now to ensure that we know what is happening in our communities. We take account for ourselves on some of these responsibilities that the government might, practically fail. For example, now we have to be very, very careful, when it comes to, taking up this medication. This is also important for the public medicine consumer, attitude. Gambians also have a very bad attitude when it comes towards medicine. I think it's about time we also change our attitude towards guidelines for medicines and related products. To also say that I think it's about time that government really puts in effort to invest, its energy to protect us by, bringing us, the required facilities. We need to have the capacity, we need to have the capability to actually do some of these, quality control checks in our country, and Gambia can be celebrated for that. We can get the money from somewhere and tell WHO we need to do this, and they will support, obviously. So it's about us coming together. I know investigations are still on. This is a country where investigations will never end. So we will continue to sit down and wait for the government to bring out, that investigation paper any moment next year.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Sheikh Omar Sillah. It's a pleasure having you on our platform today. We really appreciate your time. So thank you. Nice talking to you. Viewers, this is all that we have for you for this the first edition of the SGN Week in Depth. Do join us next weekend with more interesting analysis of our current affairs in our country. And then it's a bye-bye from my end. Until next time. Thank you.